Welcome and good morning. Welcome to FYI. For your information, it is the 29th day of August. The month is finished. Payday is here or has passed. Um, so we're excited. Tabby, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Shara. You're excited about payday?
You know, what's this guy needs all we look for month 10.
And then the
Month
money
10.
finished before it even reached the bank account. Yes, but good morning, everyone.
Yeah. And we
Good
know as soon
morning.
as it come, it gone with the same speed.
I know, especially this cost of living, right? So I don't know it's much to look forward to these days. But yes, most persons would have been paid by now for the month of August. So good morning to everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys had a good night's rest and
Correct.
you're ready and prepared for whatever the day holds. It's good to be with you again. How are you, Sharon? How did you
I'm
spend your
good too.
evening?
I'm good
No,
too.
other than at the
Some coffee at
ringside.
our end this morning. Some coffee
You
here.
you
And
oh
we hope that you guys got a cup of something at your end too. Pull up a chair, pull up a cup of something. We're waiting for all of the usual suspects.
I have water this morning. I am not a coffee fan, you know. I had
Um,
coffee once.
Tabby, I don't know how to break this to you, but what is nutty? I don't think
No,
country you might be in a little while.
no, but the Chinese drink a lot of hot water. I must let you know. So there's something good about it. No, I drank coffee
their
once.
economy is slowing down right now,
Oh,
They're
not
going the
just
recession. We have never been so poor. We couldn't afford some little other things in the world.
No, I decided to go straight water today. I decided to go straight water. I like
I
it.
always have to feel like drinking like warm water would make you kind of um we would say vomit, puke in these parts.
I don't know. Some people feel that way. I think it's something about like an acquired taste, kind of. But there's no
I would
taste in
agree with
water.
that. An acquired taste.
Something, yes. But I felt it necessary, so I started doing it after my last child. Actually,
Hmm.
I started drinking hot water, cinnamon water. Started, all of these things that you see on social media too.
Like you're trying to tell Mr. Halley something there after your last child, Is that you can read it several ways. That's all I heard, That's all.
So yes. Well, Sharon, you like coffee?
Yes, I love coffee. I love coffee. I
Mm.
love coffee. I don't think I'm an addict, but
You don't think you're an
I'm
addict?
kind of I'm kind of moving in the direction of ginger. I'm at that age and stage.
No, I'll tell you a story. I had coffee when I was going to university. One day I was backed up on my work and I decided to drink coffee all night so that I could get this assignment done. The next day, I was roaming around campus completely out of it, had no clue how I got there, how I got home, and that was the end of coffee. That was
You're
the
an
end of
autopilot.
coffee.
Everybody could hold the
Apparently,
drinks.
I think I was in a daze. No, I that's probably why I don't drink alcohol. I can't.
Debbie Collins, Marlon Pandey, Lynn Finance, Margaret Nelson is here. But Margaret, we were waiting for you to start the show, right? We were waiting on you. Margaret said ginger is a whole thing. Who knew?
Yes.
Lachman Aziz, where is Sheila Boydchild? And well, we can't start officially unless you got out front parts and Margaret Nelson and Rio Nelson, and you got Naomi Drucker. You know, it's your show. So we are with you. Good morning, guys. Janet Edwards here and Camille Cox joining us from Region 6. And Camille is very strong on moringa tea.
Yes.
Moringa tea, right? I know if I'm at that stage yet.
I actually have the plant in my yard, but I keep forgetting to use it.
Does it come in the tea bag format?
They're doing that now. They're
Yeah.
actually doing that now. So
Yes
you can.
comes the answer in the kitchen here. Yes, folks, we got things are stewing here, sizzling and all manner of things. I'm tempted to turn the camera. Very, very tempted. It's a functional kitchen. Very, very functional. Look, if things don't work out, where my hosts work, they could easy gotta fall back. Easy.
At least they have cooking. And at least
Easy gotta fall back.
at least you're not being starved where you are.
Correct, correct. By
They're
no
taking very
means.
good care of you.
No means. Camille Cox, as we said, is here. Annette Cummins, Jamor Marcus is here as well. Fennel Innes. Guys, we're holding for you. And we encourage you guys to share the live as well. You know, as we said, we are the live. You know, we would say share the live broadcast. But folks, we in the vernacular, share the live, you know, the whole thing right there. Smash that emoji button for us too. We're going to make sure that we are shared to all of the places where we need to be shared to. And folks, it's what? It's Tuesday, the 29th day. We're running to the, well, we at the end of the month, really and truly, when you're hitting the 29th and the 30th, we ain't coming down. We at the end right there. But I think we go into the first on Friday. Friday's the first.
Friday's the first, yes. Friday's the 1st of September.
Yeah. And then officially, summer in Guyana is finished.
No, in Guyana, in the States. I think
And we
you're
heading
getting
into
mixed up.
fall.
I think you're getting. I think you're getting.
You know, we celebrate everything. And then I think somewhere there about we got Halloween coming up. How far are we out from St. Patrick's Day? Y'all know we can celebrate everything. You know, everything we celebrate.
I have no clue. You're better than that. I think you're getting mixed up though, Sharon. I think that that coffee.
We are heading into fall back home. I think I see some thick coats and so on.
Actually, it has been raining so much that summer may just start. No,
yeah, but we can talk about that too. We can talk about that too because, you know, weather-wise, as we start, they're saying that things are not going to be looking as usual as they normally do in the Caribbean. Sorry, Tabby, because we are experiencing some unusual weather patterns. It since them boys coming, you know, Tabby, I find so a lot of things.
Everything that could go wrong is going wrong.
You'll be strong. You'll be strong.
God is so upset. He just.
And apparently they tell us that Suriname isn't working out, so them boys going Guadeloupe now.
Oh my goodness.
It says strong in Guadeloupe. Jolly, Annette is here. Roxanne Garraway. Out front parts is showing up. Good morning to you, sir. We were waiting on you, you know, to start the program. Roxanne Garraway is here too. Glenford Gordon. Good morning to all of you fantastic folks. The various places you are joining us from this morning. And of course, we can jump right into it. A couple of things we're following the morning papers. Let's start internationally, folks. And this is an interesting one. You know, we often say, you got too much of things going on upstairs, right? Some people really don't have too much going on. But this one person here in Australia, Tabby and viewers, perhaps had too much happening on the upstairs. A neurosurgeon in Australia investigating a patient's mystery symptoms found something wiggling around in her brain, a worm wiggling around in her brain. Now, this could only get interesting from here, right? Let me give you some of this. This is Canberra, Australia. Investigating this, as I said, the mystery symptoms. An Australian hospital says it plucked a wiggling worm from patient's brain. Surgeon Harry Priya Bandy was performing a biopsy through a hole in a 64-year-old patient's skull at Canberra Hospital when she used forceps to pull out the parasite, which measured 8 centimeters and or 3 inches. A worm wiggling around upstairs there. Yeah, believe it or not.
Did they say whether it affected her in any way? That is interesting. I'm trying to figure out how it got. I guess anything can move through the blood and so in the body, so it probably was in the.
I'm happy you asked, Tabby. So the creature was a larva of an Australian native roundworm, not previously known to be a human parasite. And then they give the scientific name. The worms are commonly found in carpet pythons. That's what they said. And of course, they were very, very struck by this. Yeah. So you see the thing, you see with us, we done said that's some we said that's some, what do you call it? Some your pressure high. I take a small turn. You know, I always advise against self-diagnosing. See your pressure high, you take a small turn and you got to bed. Right? And you know them boys plant something, you know.
No, but that's
worm. wiggling around.
I gotta go. I'm actually interested to see how the worm got to the brain.
Oh, you had me there, but I got to go. I thought you feeling something wiggling too. My,
No, Sharon.
the shoulder
I'm just
started
very
jumping like this. Things wiggling. Well, when I see how some of them boys operating, it's things might be wiggling upstairs, you know. You know?
You think that we might have to carry some of them for some
Yeah,
diagnosis as
yeah.
well as
You
something
need a
happening.
neurosurgeon. You know, the elevator reaching the top floor.
Maybe
know?
the elevator reaching the top floor with some things inside.
But that's Australia, right? Lorette Short will embarrass people here now. Lorette wants to know what is the scientific name, right? Well, the empire going to strike back now. The empire going to strike back. The you know when you come to some words in some book, you say big word, right? the last word in this phrase, that is the whole name for this creature, this parasite, is Robert C. Right? Now the first name is like the whole letter for the whole alphabet. OPHID OSCARIS. Right? What's it? Ophelskaris? You take your bet from that. Tell me you want to go there.
Me?
Big word, big word, big word. That's the scientific name. Yolanda Thomas, you all having a light morning at our expense, right? I hope all this big laughing we see here in the comment section is not because something wiggling upstairs. I just hope.
It's Ophelskaris, Robert.
Same thing. That's the same word. I was just calling like that,
Sharon.
Tabby, to make sure you're paying attention.
Sharon, you missed that.
Now that I know that you are paying keen attention. That's the same word. Jilly G, good to see you there, Glenford. Beatrice Selby and all the other folks joining us this morning. That's the same word, Tabby. Now that I know you pay keen attention. Right? Kyle Bino says hard word. Same thing. Same thing. That being said, folks, we heading closer now, I think, regionally, and they're telling us that this heat wave that we're experiencing in the Caribbean, I know like it's stretched, like the Caribbean boundary stretching. You know, them boys were expanding boundaries the other day and so on. All right? Like the land grabbing till up this side now. Because the heat stress, they say, is going to continue for a little bit. And this is actually out of the Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum. Just on Monday, yesterday said that for the next 3 months, ocean temperatures should remain well above average, continuing to amplify the heat stress in the Caribbean. So it's not just the PPP alone causing all these problems, you know.
Yes,
this heat that you all feeling, right? I know sometimes it might done say, well, you're coming into that stage of your life, you know, heat stress.
This is the seriousness of climate change, eh?
Correct.
A lot of persons sometimes don't want to take it seriously, think it's just a hoax, thinks people are just using it to find ways to make monies and all of that. But this thing called climate change, I think it's real.
It's real, very, very real.
It's very
real. And again,
the effects of it.
Yes, Tabby. And again, this is out of the Barbados-based Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum. And they said we're going to see this heat wave, as it were, continuing for the next 3 months. So, folks, you got to brace yourself for that. Of course, we don't get no advisories by our end. Of course. Right? But I guess in at least a heat wave, you got to stay
But Sharon, this has some other impact, you know, because the heat wave then causes more use of electricity. Because people may have only used, for example, the ACs on certain occasions, but now it's on longer. The fans are on longer. People are using more ACs in their cars. And so it affects other things in the society. And where GPL is concerned, I don't know how they're going to deal with the increased use of electricity. Because, you know, they're supposed to be in the first place targeting, should have a target as to how much they expect to use per month and per year on certain amount of fuel. And now with this heat wave, that is going to increase. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but there've been a lot of complaints of increased blackouts again on our side, and I'm not sure it's going to reduce because they may come to National Assembly again for more money because they did not cater for a heat
Correct.
wave.
Correct. And I see folks in the comments saying that the heat stress in have nothing on the people because they are the biggest stress. Yep. Yep.
And that's
Endorse.
one way of putting it.
Endorse. Endorse. Coming closer to home. But once we touch home, we got some problems starting up. Henry Rodney, we see you there in the comment section. Yolanda Thomas, Glenford Gordon, Dolly Anderson. Folks, as you come on, yes, Real. Yes, Real. Good to see you too and all the other guys joining us. Roy and all the other folks. Share the like, smash that emoji button for us, folks. Partner with us as well as we continue. 592, cyber crimes. This one they use with impunity. Cyber crimes. Here is this fella who may have taken his things too far. Let's just put it that way. Too far. This is, I want to get the information accurately. Yeah, this is Sion Clark. He's 42 of Ben Street, Workmanville, and he was arraigned for on a cybercrime charge just yesterday at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Is alleged on May 15, Clark published electronic material comprising a woman's personal information with the intent to make her a target of mockery and emotional anguish. Although the police prosecutor had no issues concerning bail for Clark, they insisted that he must lodge his passport and so on with the court and report every 2 weeks to the CID, the Criminal Investigation Department there at Eve Leary. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's like watching y'all boy who think he want to publish stuff about people that is misleading, that is fake news, and you must just go down the road with that. Tabby?
Yes, this I think is a serious issue on many levels because they start very young. In terms of a lot of young people who may have access to each other's information and what's not, and because you have a falling out or something, you decide to post the personal information of each other on social media, and it can have a negative impact on the person who has been tarnished. But it's good for us to also recognize that it is something that is unlawful and you can be charged for it and found guilty. I don't know, the different fines depending on the nature of the case. But this is something that needs to be understood by all, that just deciding because you're upset or somebody did something to you, you cannot just go and put the personal information on social media, because once it goes out there, you cannot bring it back. There's no way of you might delete it on your end, but somebody has already received it, downloaded it, saved it, and would use it for their own purposes. So there's no bringing it back once it goes out there.
Correct.
And on the other side, for young people especially, that we should take all precautions in terms of using your cell phones and your all the digital things that you have. Use it wisely. Use it wisely, because once it goes out there, it's very difficult to get back. So yes, this cybercrime thing, it's real. But I just wanted to really to educate our young people on the seriousness of it, and that they should be very they should be very cautious in the way in which, one, they use the instruments that they have at their disposal, and two, not when you're upset with somebody, just post something because you're vexed, because it can come back to haunt you as well, not just the person you chose to tarnish.
Correct. Think twice, especially before sending nudes. Might be too late for some people, but think twice before sending nudes. That's a big no. Not because you don't want to in that fashion, but because the net is such a place.
Anybody can get it. Yes.
Think twice before doing that. In addition to that, fire last evening, when we were coming off, we were talking with some of this. They said they had a fire at Rosignol at a fast food outlet, a fast food entity in Rosignol. The origins are unknown. There was an accident even last evening as we were concluding last night's program. Folks sent us some information to that fund. Again, carnage on the roads
and fires
of the PvP, of course.
That's what we're being known for now. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
There
isn't much one can say on this front. Suffice to say, that there's some comments attributed to Irfan. We'll get to them a little later on, and we can circle back to this one when we deal with that, because it seems as though they're just waking up on some of these issues that you and I have been talking about for the longest while. Carnage on the roads and on our waterways. Also, the kind of violence we see in our society against
Yes.
women and girls. And look, folks, the largest scheme of things, we don't have a big country
Population.
in terms of population,
No.
right? We don't have a big country at all. In some countries, you guys who live in the diaspora know this more than we do. You got towns that got more people than Guyana, right? You got one town that got 10 million, 15 million people, and it's managed by 12 persons, right? Think about that. Think about if Guyana was a town with the number of people we have. We got municipalities, NDCs, a police force, defense force. We got all of that. But are we better for it? Are we better for it? Right? The whole South Carolina where we are, and we're talking about North Carolina, might be the population of Guyana. Right? And a city council here, like the software and the computer, running quietly in the background.
Yeah.
Means anybody cussing out the mayor. Right? Because now the city council where the garbage and picking up. Things are being done so effortlessly, but to stay relevant, we got to create change in the system so that we can stay relevant. Right? So soon something happen here, I want to see President Ali. Right? I want to see Bar Jack Dio, they got to keep this relevant, and so
Yeah.
things don't function. Systems don't function as they should. And we can talk about one of those systems too this morning. They're not functioning.
Yeah, and no, Shara, that what you said there is so true. I remember when we got into office in 2015, there was a lot of emphasis placed on ensuring that the systems worked, and so persons didn't have to knock on the door of the president for every situation. And if the institutions were working, if the NDCs were working, if the RDCs were working, you know, and the municipalities and the ministers and ministries are working, then you don't necessarily need to see the president for every single thing. And that is when the system works. That is what is supposed to happen.
Correct.
But what the PPP thrives on is being seen as needed. And so they have to create situations. And I saw a lot of this after 2020.
Uh-huh.
Their whole situation was contrived. And then somebody comes in like the savior when they created the situation in the first place. It's just so that they could be seen in front of the camera as resolving an issue. And the reality is that is not how the system should be working. Whoever has the authority and the right to handle the issue should be able to do so without it having to reach the president or the vice president on all matters. But that is where we are as a society, and so everything has to fall apart because there's one man who has to make all the decisions and answer all the questions and be seen as a savior.
Correct. Agreed. And talk about systems that are not working because we don't want it to work is one that we are dealing with at City Hall. Now, some of the comments I saw coming out of this particular reporting out of City Hall boggles the mind. I'll give you all just a snippet of it as we are following it with the Chase Green launching this attack on the former mayor Obraj Narain, who's sure I think Chase Green can begin to smell. Now, just reading the first part of this, you know, it's taking some getting used to. People's Progressive Party councillor Patricia Chase Green. Now, that's something the coffee can't be carried down. The coffee can't be carried that aspect down. People's Progressive Party councillor Chase Green. I sat in the chamber next to Chase Green for about 3 years. And here Chase Green castigate the PPP. You know, chastise, views out. You know, Chase Green. And to see that line there, People's Progressive Mercy. Right? She is the biggest hypocrite you have at City Hall. And here's some of the commentary here. She is calling out the former mayor, Obraj Narain, and saying that he should face the necessary consequences for misleading the council. This is parking me to pat, you know. For misleading the council right? And encouraging the execution of breach contracts. It's great. Oh, how the fallen are mighty. Chase Green, during the City Hall statutory meeting yesterday, urged fellow councillors to stop aiding in building castles in the sky. It's great. And put their foot down on those who have failed to carry out their prescribed duties. It's great. This is it's Ubrach Narain, former mayor, she's hinting at here. She said the issues, the issue is a product of Narain's incompetence, and his decisions have landed the council in a pit filled with challenges. It's great. Oh wow. Oh, how the fallen are mighty. Yeah.
Sharon, you know what is interesting is that when the former mayor was there was a lot of conversation around his ability to actually lead, given the fact that the PP was trying to have control of the council through the town clerk. And we know very clearly that the fact that the PP is in control through the town clerk, that it hindered a lot of what the mayor was attempting to do in terms of developing the city. And so I find it egregious that at this moment, everything now is the mayor's fault, when he was having such a difficult time getting anything done because the town clerk was acting allegedly on the on what she was being told by either the local government commission or the minister that was in charge of that particular which is the minister of local government. So I don't understand but I understand why, because there's this need to tarnish the former mayor. The question is why. Is it a case that there are things that were done and they're trying to find a scapegoat for it, and so everybody has come to agree that the best scapegoat would be the former mayor because of those whose hands may have been involved in what happened? I don't know.
Could be some of that, because part of this report says that Chase Green said Mr. Narain must be sanctioned for his incompetence and misleading counsel. Right? Green said to resounding cheers of acknowledgement from both, according to this report. I would find this very strange and very concerning. PPP and APNU councillors, I would find the second aspect of that very concerning. I don't care how right they are. And I know they aren't right, Chase Green especially. With her tenure and her track record in City Hall, and the things that passed muster with her, that couldn't pass muster any place else, and her level of incompetence, how she can be casting stones at Ubrach Narain? And I would be very surprised if there are APNU councillors who are plotting that foolishness. So I can take that as fake news out of the source that we got it from. I can take that as fake news. Not when the hypocrite Chase Green signed up the cast stones at Ubrach Narain. Ubrach invited as a council several times the Auditor General's office to go in.
Exactly.
And if there is corruption, let the law take its course. So when I saw the other day them calling for an audit, I found that hilarious too. He said, "Y'all come, we have nothing to hide. Open up the books." They kept threatening and threatening. We can get out of City Hall. But they went in. But now when you're out, they want to cast aspersions. That can't be good management. That can't be good governance.
It isn't.
You had a whole COI into Chase Green's tenure. Right? And if you read it will be a bestseller for the indictments it raised against her tenure.
Against her tenure. So yeah, it's so Sharon, I sometimes you can't take these things too seriously, but I would love to hear the councillors, the current councillors, respond to this article as to their perspective on whether this article is true, and give a true version of what actually took place on that in that meeting, because it is, for me, asinine for someone who has so many stains against them to suggest that a former mayor, I'm not saying that I know everything that the former mayor did. I'm not saying that. But the reality is that the situation at the mayor and city council was not one where the former mayor had total control of his role. And so take with that in context, he cannot be blamed for everything that happened under his tenure because the government was in complete control of what was happening with mayor and city council as much as the mayor was attempting to carry the to operate as a mayor of the town of Georgetown. And so
and clearly Trace Green was in their corner.
exactly. And she was
Helping
here. And
clearly.
so for her to now be saying it when she was there all the time and was very quiet where these things are concerned, now her mouth open when he is no longer there. And now they're talking about auditing and all of those things. But I would like to see what the actual audit says.
Correct. You know, by the time I entered City Hall, Trace Green had already been there about 18, 19 years. So by now, she closing in on 25. What has she done with her tenure at City Hall? You
The
know?
parking meter.
Because Ubrach didn't create whatever problems exist at City Hall. Right? What did she do with her tenure? How did she hand over City Hall to Ubrach when he took over?
Exactly.
Well, we talk about that. You know, were the accounts in order? Was
But-
your audit done?
Yeah.
Right? What was the state of affairs when she demitted office there? And again, the parking meter contract, you know, parking meter pact, that stands testament to her leadership and what
Exactly.
they were trying to voice on the necks of citizens in this country. So again, I say I'd be very concerned with that piece of reporting that said that with her giving her diatribe or attempting to on Ubrach's tenure, they had new councillors cheering that. I'd be very surprised at that. Very surprised.
I think you have your story for tonight and who you should be asking to come on.
Very, very surprised at that. But that being said, folks, that being said, the Bishop of Bluff, because there is this piece of real estate between the embankment, Conversation Tree Road, and the highway there. This construction company was way behind schedule. I think a piece of reporting out of state media said they were about 27% complete and way behind the completion time. And the bishop swore they were done with. And then we heard that the principals of the company were flying in from Trinidad. And now we're learning that they're going to be allowed to complete the contract. Now, folks, it's only in Guyana. 2 weeks ago, according to the report here, let me go through it quickly. Minister of Public Works, Juan Jill, stated that he was planning to have the Trinidadian-based company Calico dismissed from the Dennis Street project for non-performance. It joins that area there. The company was given the green light to resume work with a new deadline. This was announced yesterday by the Ministry of Public Works following talks between Ejil and the engineers and principals from Calico, company who flew in, as I said, from Trinidad. Right? It ended with the two sides agreeing to continue the work on the project, but with new stipulations, one of them being that the project is now expected to be substantially completed by November 5th. Now, this is a pattern. Right? This is a mannerism with Ejil. Either run up by CGIA, we can come around to that just now. Right? And lay down the gauntlet for the Chinese company there since 2020 when they came in. Oh, this will not be allowed to happen and that. Not a cent more. Well, they get times more since that. Times more since that. And we see this consistently with these contractors who have consistently fallen behind because they take on work, would have no experience in some instances, his friends, family, favorite doing. Then they fall behind. He run in as though he's the custodian of the law. And then he has to backpedal. And that is what has happened here. Hop and Bluff, Bishop of Bluff.
My thing is this stipulation. One of the stipulations being that they have a new deadline. How is that a stipulation? I was expecting something more serious, that if they don't finish it by the new deadline, then such and such would have happened. That would see them losing something. But right now, if the most serious stipulation is that they have a new deadline, then I think they're just playing with the population. and they're trying to give a sense as if they're on top of things when they are not. You see, the reality of this situation, Sharon, is that where contracts are concerned, especially as it relates to infrastructure, there's a lot of space and scope for corruption. I'm not saying that this is happening in this particular instance, but what you find a lot where infrastructure projects are concerned is that persons get a lot of money upfront. Half of that money goes to whoever gave them the contract in the first place, and then they can't finish the project because the amount of money that they should have received, some of it went elsewhere other than completing the project. And so you will find a lot of work around Georgetown start and then halt because some of that money that was supposed to go to projects went elsewhere. And as you said rightfully too, there are a lot of persons who gain contracts that have no clue what they're doing. They just bid for something because they know somebody and they know they would have gotten the contract. But in terms of ensuring that the project actually meet the deadline, that is where a lot of issues will come because now they have to subcontract and find persons who actually know what they're doing to come on board and do the actual project. And so I don't know what will happen with a lot of projects we have around town because they're digging up, breaking down all sort of roads to try to make them 4 lanes. And I am not sure if any of them are going to be completed on time. So with this 27% on this particular road, as you drive around Georgetown, you will see that there are a lot of 27% around town right now.
They're the 27% government. And this is what we saw with Cemetery Road, the same thing. And then they come up with these excuses, the spirits running away, the contractors and so on. Well, I don't know what spirits attended to what is happening there, but where else in the world, Tabitha, viewers, Margaret Nelson, All Front Parts, Ali Cock, the light one, where else in the world you can have contractors egregiously, breaching the terms of the contract, and two principals could fly in and everything is all right.
Everything is all right.
We could move forward.
And you just get a new deadline.
Yeah, right. That's the stipulation. You get a new deadline. And you should go back just fully to the churcher. He might be good at something, but it's not this thing.
It's not the church either.
Fluff and bluff. Fluff and bluff. And then he come and beat his chest. Oh, we're about quality and we're about this and that. And then where it matters, they continue to consistently fail the Guyanese people. Fluff and bluff.
And that's what you were saying earlier too, Sherrod. They create a problem. They come in as if they try to save the problem, and the problem continues because they're really part of the problem in the first place.
Yep, the problem persists. Well, I hope they are better going forward. Honest to God, I hope. What are they good at? Honestly, when you look at the governance over the tenure, what is it? What are they good at?
Propaganda.
Right? It can't be building roads and so on, clearly. It's not project management, clearly. What is it? Well, you probably stumbled on it there. Propaganda. Because as we were on that, another facet of the administration's tenure is this not believing in systems. There are a whole host of systems that are set up by the Constitution to encourage a trade-off, checks and balances between the government of the day and the other arms of the state, between entities. And one of the things we see they consistently fail at was setting up of the commissions that ensures that kind of check and balance between the executive and that entity there. It's only the past month you see certain of the commissions, right, coming into not actualization, being effective, being constituted. Only recently, within the last month or two, about 5 or 6 of them. What have they been doing for the last year? Because apparently they can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Well, you got the Constitutional Reform Commission. The AG said it's coming soon. The reconstitution of it, right? The work to commence soon. Right? They'll be the last administration over the head. Oh, you haven't reformed the Constitution. Yeah, this in the manifesto. They said they can get to it shortly, right? And this was the same thing with the Integrity Commission. It was the same thing for the Police Service Commission. They had to carry them to court.
Yeah.
To do what the Constitution say they must do. A new government comes in, the life of the entity comes to an end. You got to move things along. This is part of governance. These folks can come and they can preach on you and I with good governance, transparency, accountability, and the structures to provide that keep lacking. And this is what Comrade Ramjatan talks so famously about when he talks about the guardrails breaking down, right? The guardrails. These are things that are put in place to ensure the safety of society, ensure the checks and balances, and such and so forth. And here we are, coming soon.
Well, I'm interested to see how it will be, who is going to be on it, and how they're going to go through that process to ensure it is as fair as possible. I agree with you, Cheryl, that where this particular commission is concerned, and it is necessary, and it's something that they have been working on as when the parliament, our current parliament started in 2020, and there was a lot of engagement with the opposition. And I remember quite clearly Cameron Ramditan actually saying that he doesn't want to go through the back and forth with them, that we want the commission to just get it done. Because there were a lot of preliminary questions that were being asked of the opposition as to how they want it to look and all of that. And Cameron would just say, let us just get it constituted and let's start to work from there. So let's see where it goes. He said it will come soon. But I would like to also challenge the Attorney General that the Human Rights Commission should be established. I think that commission is important. That commission, I think, will help a lot of the issues that we find ourselves facing in the country as it relates to human rights violations. And so while it is that the Constitutional Reform Commission is very important, it is necessary, given our current place in history and what the limits of the current Constitution, I would like to also charge the Attorney General with stating a date for when it is he will look into the Human Rights Commission being constituted.
Yeah, and you see, these are the things that makes for strong governance. You know, dancing up and cocking up your foot, backballing, catching anti-banta and so on, at its place, no doubt, you know, sharing a state with Marshal Montano and so on, got its place. But the hard work of governance, we have to attend to that. But they've been asleep at the wheel, as you said. You have important commissions that are still to come into force, still to be reconstituted since the last administration, you know. And then they got some vacancies that got to be filled too. The substantive posts for Chancellor, Chief Justice, you know. We got to move this thing forward. We can't just, you know, mark in time. And that is what we've been doing. And in lots of instances, Tabby, you and I know that in our viewership as well, it has been strategic delays.
Yes.
So that they can put certain things in place before these commissions are set up, right? And they can use the excuse of necessity, like the appointment of the Commissioner of Police,
acting,
to get their man in place,
acting,
right? Acting. So you strategically delay setting up of the commission, and then you want to blame somebody else for that.
Yeah. The commissions, I think, are important, and I'm also convinced that they are not doing these things of their own volition. I'm of the view that they're being pressured into be seen to be doing some of these things, because if you look at their tenure before 2015, a lot of these things took very long to even come into fruition, and it had to be after being pressured into doing some of these things. And so I don't think that they're doing it because they want to, but because they're being pressured into doing them. So let's see where it goes. I'm once it comes on board, I would hope that Guyanese play their role in letting the state know exactly what parts of the Constitution they believe needs to be changed and how it should be changed, and let us push it as quickly as possible and not allow them to stop it from moving forward as it should.
Correct. And I think for the large part, Tabby, these are folks, you have a government who does not like decentralization, don't like to devolve power, they like to centralize it. And so why you need a commission when we could just pick who we want for, you know, police commissioner, when we could discipline from the center, you see, right? Why would we need police service commission, right? We don't care what the fellow who had locked up the attorney did. We
Yeah.
want your lease course. We the whole police service commission to decide that. So these things are impediments in the way they would like to rule. I remember they were
Exactly.
trained in Russia, you know. Russian trained. Why you need all these things?
Yeah,
These are
no,
hindrances to democracy.
you touched on something, Sharon, and I agree with you 100%. It's that the notion of governance is different from what they claim. They keep saying democracy and democracy and democracy, but when it comes down to it and you look at how it is they actually govern, it's far removed from a democratic process. It's not democratic governance. It is more towards authoritarian governance. That is what they know. That is what they understand. That is how they have been trained, because they recognize that if it is that you give more persons power to be able to control their own their own communities, their own cities, then it reduces their ability to have complete control and to determine what happens, who gets what, how much, who gets, and so that is their issue, because they need to have complete control to be able to maintain control of the state. Because another part of the issue, though, Sharon, is that a lot of people are not happy with the current government structure. But
Correct.
if it is you were to devolve it, and if it is that you were to give people more independence, then it would show whether or not people actually like you and people want you there in power or in government. And I think they know that if it is that they do that, that the majority of people would say they don't want you there. And so they have to keep as much as possible all of the aspects of democracy under control so that they could maintain power and control.
And that is why, Tabitha, you would have a whole National Tushaus conference. And an issue as critical as what transpired or is transpiring at Chinese landing there never gets mentioned outside of the Tushao, who is from Chinese landing and who made that very, very emotional plea there for a cessation of this mining activity that they are strongly set against. You know, Irfan and broachy topic there. And then they have corralled the rest of the indigenous leaders there not to go in that direction, you know, but they didn't. I think the Upper Mazaruni Council have come out with a statement saying that the rights of the folks at Chinese landing should be respected there. But a whole National Tushaus Conference don't put us on the front burner. Why? Because the government don't want it on the front burner.
You see, Sharon, this boggles the mind, because if you have something that is happening at the international level, and they have made a decision, as the president of the country, you have to at least be seen to have an understanding of the situation enough that when it is that you approach the people who are affected, that you say something on it. You know, you may not agree completely with their side or completely with their take on the matter, but you still have to, out of respect for the persons who have concerns or who are protesting, say something to let them know that you understand the situation, that you know about the situation, and say something to let them know at least that you are reviewing the situation. But that you would not, you would decide to go to something like the National Tushaus Council and pretend it doesn't exist. And not only that, but also try to tell other indigenous leaders that they should pretend it doesn't exist and it's not as big a situation as it is. Then it shows that you really do not care about the needs, the concerns of the indigenous community. And the other part of it, though, Sharon, is that if it is that this is what that is the approach of the president on this particular issue, what the indigenous people have to be concerned about is that when an issue arises in their community, that he will respond the same way. So it's okay to say, okay, we're not a Chinese landing, so we wouldn't deal with that issue. We will pretend as if it doesn't exist. But if something is happening in Karasabai, if something is happening in another one of the indigenous communities, and you want your entire indigenous community to come and defend you and support you, and they say no because the president said that we shouldn't, then what we're doing is not helping ourselves, because we are dividing ourselves when these issues arise. And so it's sad, but kudos to the Tushao who stood up and spoke to the issue yesterday.
Correct. I think it's to show finance, and again from Chinese landing. So there's that big issue there, and Siobhan and Orin, out front pass, Horace Calden, Gavin Bernard. Again, as Tabby says, kudos to that Tushao who stood up. More people got to stand up, right? We see the PPP copied all kinds of things. I wish they copy good things like law and order, right? That there's none higher or above the law in Guyana, that all of us can be held to the same measure, and not just friends, family, and favorites. Saw this photograph recently, we did, of the meeting between the former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair and Irfan Ali at State House. And, Mr. Blair had an expression on his face like, what the hell is he talking about? But what really caught our eye, they like this kind of thing. I don't know, but Blair is in Guyana with his wife, Cherry, for Women's Foundation event. I know it had much to do with the state. But here is the British former Prime Minister Tony Blair meeting with Irfan Ali. Even the event of itself that we saw was kind of a little odd, because it was a women event dealing with women empowerment, and the men took over the front seats. The photograph was this women event, and the whole front row is men. They couldn't even get the optic right.
They're supporting the women, back,
which was very, very telling to me.
The men are there to support women.
Again, you got they mentioned it at the back. It's very cosmetic, really and truly. But here's Blair meeting with Irfan. And we thought, this sitting arrangement here looks odd. This is not the usual sitting arrangement that we see at State House. Irfan is kind of in the middle, and then you got people on chairs to the side. And then it dawned on me, we saw this somewhere else recently. And we got folks at our end who do the homework and so on. And it took us back. This was the China meeting recently. Right? I want to copy good things, Tabby. I want to copy good things. Like I said, law and order, mutual respect for people. I saw Irfan saying he don't need the opposition leader. Here's one Guyana platform. That alone is telling. That alone is very, very telling, right? In the United States, they had January 6th. The insurrection, that day that has gone down in infamy in American history. But even with that, the Democrats know it is better for them when they have consensus, when they have some support from their Republican colleagues. On issues, they can try to steamroll their way, but they know it will not affect lasting change in the American society unless they can work together on something that he says is aiming at uniting the country. His concept, this hairy-fairy, hiram-skiram concept of one Guyana, right? We're supposed to be unity. He said, I don't need the opposition leader. Right? You should be seeking buy-in for the sake of all Guyanese. If this thing is really meant to do what you want it to do and unify us across the racial divide, among other things, I don't need him. But they're here copying with the Chinese too, we saw this.
Yeah.
We saw it elsewhere too. We saw it in the Indian trip, a trip to India recently. We've never seen this before at State House, right? We haven't seen this before at State House. But you see the copying. I want us to copy good things. They travel this world, right? They're frequent flyers. They overseas more than the inseas, right? Overseas more than on the trees.
On the seas.
But copy good things. Copy good things. We don't have that.
A couple of things that you said I want to respond to, Sharon. One is the Tony Blair issue. It's not an issue. the reality is that they're going to push as though all of these people are coming because they are democratic and they fought for democracy in 2020 and they recognize that the PP is a democratic government, and so that is why here, which is completely false. The reality of the situation is that because there's oil and gas and we have a booming economy for a lot of overseas investment, a lot of persons will be coming to Guyana for their own private interests and utilizing the state as much as they need to be able to do so. And so this whole perception that is because the PP is democratic, I think is a false perception. The Guyanese know that, but they will try to push it as much as they can that Tony Blair is here because they share same democratic values. That's what I just saw in the article. The reality is that we're an oil producing republic, and that comes with it a lot of things. And that also brings people here that would never set foot in our part of the world if we were not an oil producing republic. And so we need to understand that. And so then our engagement with them must be from that perspective and understanding that their interest is they're here because of their own agenda, and they will see where their agenda link with our agenda and then see whether or not they can have a partnership in some kind. So that is the first thing. The second thing on Irfan's One Guyana statement, I think it is an understanding of their mindset, of their view of the world. They believe that they can do what they need to get enough Guyanese outside of the leadership of those Guyanese people. So in the sense that, for example, they decided no longer to no longer give money to Ipadaji because they don't recognize Ipadaji, they don't recognize the leadership of Ipadaji, and they will then take the money and go directly to the people, and with the hope that the people would see them giving them the money and then come next election support them. They don't think they need the Teaching Service Commission. They don't need the teachers union, because they can go directly to the teachers and have a discussion with the teachers, and the teachers will see them at the table and say, well, yes, we will support them. And so you see this continuously happening. They don't, and so now they are attempting to, they believe that if it is for example, what happened at local government elections, that they can go to the people and dole out money with the hope that they don't need to interact with the opposition leadership or the people who the majority of Georgetown citizens voted for in the last national elections. They don't need to deal with them. They can go direct to the people, give them some money, and they will vote for them at local government elections. That did not prove accurate. But it's this mindset that they're the only leaders in the country. They're the only persons in charge, they're in control, and any other leadership is null and void. They have no basis, and so they don't need to engage or interact with them. And that is going back to what we were talking about in terms of authoritarianism versus democracy. If you are a democratic society and you believe in democratic governance, then you will understand that you're not the only leaders in society. Correct. And you also have to respect the leadership of those who do not trust you, believe that you're the best leaders, and you have to understand that there are other leaders that have a right to be at the table and to be a part of the process of governance. But that is not what the PPP believe. And so we find those statements will continue to come because they're more authoritarian than democratic.
Yeah, correct on all accounts, Tabby. But we got to do so much different. We got to do so different from what has obtained as a standard from the current regime in the past. Now, a couple of days we heard him, as you mentioned, Ipadaji, talking about reparations and who got to apologize. Now, this was a good forum because I don't know if he's met with anybody as senior as Tony Blair, even as an ex-prime minister. I saw him meeting with, he met with Boris Johnson. I almost said Yeltsin. Boris Johnson. Boris' tenure didn't last too long after that, of course, because everything they touch turns to dross. Boris didn't last too long after that. But here's a good audience, right, for your reparations speech and who must apologize and, who shouldn't apologize and all of that. Right? But they still talk about climate change and everything else under the sun. Right?
And they didn't go to the event.
Yeah.
Which is, you see this, and this is what I want Guyanese to understand, is that when it comes to the actual issues, the stance of the government is what should show you where their hearts are. Because it's one thing to say they're doling out $25,000 to people, which does not really do much in terms of the broader scheme of things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something like slavery, and you have somebody who is the descendants of a man who enslaved ancestors of the African Guyanese population, and they have decided that they're going to come to Guyana, which is seen around the world as something that is big, something that should be responded to. Not that you're, you have to recognize that this is a big opportunity for the half the population who has gone through this trauma for over 400 years. And so, if a family has decided and recognized their role in this particular atrocity, and they want to come to your country to apologize and to also have discussions as to how they can assist in helping the population that they enslaved in the past. And as a government, you are too petty to understand the importance of what is happening. And so, because it didn't happen at the location that you wanted it to happen, or they didn't engage you in the way that you wanted them to engage you, that you decided you're just pulling out completely.
Correct.
I think the African Guyanese community should understand where the people mindset are as it relates to African Guyanese, because how could you not find this important enough to find yourself there? What is that saying about your thought process about African Guyanese and what you think about them and their trauma, and the fact that somebody think it best to apologize to them and their ancestors?
And you know what?
Find it important.
Just the day before, he had this manufactured rage on the very issue. The Turkana campus was the place to take that. And on the sidelines of that event, he could have spoken to reporters and conveyed the sentiments that he conveyed a day prior. But there's the cowards that they are, and it's lip service. Oh, we care about, African Guyanese, and we are the bastions now for campaigning for reparations, but at heart,
I just want to publicly say kudos and to Eric Phillips and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, Pulu Mohammed, for the work that they've done. Especially Eric Phillips. I know he has been going left, right, up, down, all over, pushing this particular effort, and has done more than most, especially in this part of the region, on the issue of reparations. So a big kudos to Eric Phillips on the work he's done thus far on this particular issue, and to Pulu Mohammed for what she has done at the University of Guyana and making her space available for this to happen. But I think Guyanese, you see, the Indigenous community has an issue that they believe is grave. The president decides that it's not important. The African Guyanese community has an issue. They had somebody who was coming to apologize to them. The president decided it's not important for him to attend. And it shows the mindset and the belief and the agenda of the PPP. And I hope Guyanese understand it.
Yeah. And they will come and say, we care. You see? They will come and say, we care. But again, the actions is what we should look at. And a lot to be desired. Finally, folks, this morning, Irfan acknowledges the carnage on our roadways. Finally, they wake up from the slumber that they're in. And I want to give you a quick sense of some of what he said, because now this is stuff we've been talking to for a very, very, very long time. He said, I have already told the police that we have to do something. We have to do a number of things on this front. One, launch a massive road safety campaign. We've talked about the PR campaign, so we know they've been listening to us. We've talked about having a PR campaign, across the country where you have more visual markings and that kind of stuff. But it's more than that. You gotta educate people to read the signs. Because you could have a lot of visual markings. If people don't understand the language of mobility and road usage, then it could be French or Spanish to them. And they're not seeing it. So they got the public relations effort is more than just markings on the road. If we're not versed in reading them, right? If you buy a book and you don't read your package, you don't engage your package, then where are we? Right? This was at the sidelines of the Tushao Council. He made this comment. He said that the reporting here says the increase in road accidents are of a great national concern, attributing that to Irfan Ali. Right? And he went on to say that if you look, frankly speaking, a lot of the accidents have to do with excessive speeding and drinking and driving. I don't know where he's getting his data from. He doesn't quote any place. If you look, you can't operate like that. This thing has to be data-driven because it's going to inform where you put your assets, where you put your resources in this whole scheme of things. You might think it's one thing because if you just look, remember this is the fellow said, he read the thing with the Demrar, the new Demrar Harbor Bridge feasibility study, but he know it won't impact the environment. Right? He just got gut feeling. We actually have to, this is actually a science. People study mobility in townships, mobility in rural areas to tell you where you can put the sidewalk, where you can put the pavement, where you can put the pedestrian crossing, where you can put the stoplight, where you can put the roundabout. And there's a whole science and a study. But they're not waking up, Tabby. They're not waking up.
I find it strange that he is saying it and not the minister that is in charge. So where is the minister that's actually in charge of it? You see, that is what I'm talking about. The president, I understand the president coming out on policy matters and stuff like that. And he is asked, so he has to answer. But the fact that he is now answering suggests to me that he either didn't have a conversation yet with Ropes and Ben for him to come out and make some sort of statement on this matter. So now the president has spoken. Ropes and Ben now knows what he has to do. So what do they speak about in cabinet meetings? What does Ropes and Ben discuss when it's his turn to speak at cabinet meetings? Do they go through these data? Do they go through the realities, what is happening on our roadways?
No, Tabby, they don't. Remember, when they're coming through, the traffic is just parked. So they're not part of the chaos. They think it's nice and smooth.
Yeah.
Right? And the road out there, that's how people operate on a normal basis. You see? When they come through the sirens, they see a car just parked and they can pass through and go to the businesses. You left in the wake of that to deal with it. That's the challenge we have. And I wondered reading this, when it's only when the Irfan give it the nod, then people can move. The police, the traffic department could see this stuff, could see the data, but no action is taken unless the Irfan say, now it's time for the PR campaign.
No, well, I understand on one level that when the president speaks, you move. But I don't understand that it's not until the president speaks, as you were saying. So if it is that the traffic department and the police force and the minister seeing these things, do they not go to cabinet with a proposal? We are recognizing that the data is showing us that X, Y, and Z is happening on our roadways. We have had our meetings and looked at where the issues are and have decided that this is the approach that we should take to sort of reduce what we're seeing on the roadways. You take that to cabinet, and then cabinet agrees on it, and then you come out with a formal proposal to the country. This is how we're moving forward, given what is happening in our country. But
Correct.
That doesn't seem to be the approach. It's when a camera is in front of Irfan's face, Irfan has to say something, and because he's pressed to make a statement on the matter, then everything goes into play. I don't understand that approach to governance.
Yeah. And why it takes, you have this kind of a peak, a kind of a crescendo in 8 dying over the weekends, 6 of our young people alone, 6 teenagers alone. For them to say, look, we have a problem here.
Exactly.
Because every day we talk about this on this program. Every day we talk about the carnage in our roads and waterways. All right? We might not have 8 every day in one day, but when you add up at the end of the week, you must be hitting more than 8.
Yes.
We have a problem. That's why we say consistently, slow down, and let me arrive alive. Slow down and let's arrive alive. Slow down and let's arrive alive.
You want me to repeat what you said? Slow down. That's all right.
Right? They're now
No, but
waking up to this. They're now waking
but
up to this. So what are they doing? And
I
even
do not know.
they haven't been on a vacation since 1992. He just says stuff for effect.
No, but Sharon, it's really serious because it is a indication of their approach to governing. I am uncertain that they understand what their role is. I don't think they get it. It's as if they're in government and their approach is how much I can get for myself and the few around me. It's not an understanding that you are placed there to ensure the people are safe, ensure the people have as best a life as they can so that they're comfortable in their communities, in their villages, in their townships. And so you create policies to ensure that happens across the board. It seems that is their secondary approach. Their first approach is to how can I get another contractor, get somebody that I know to get a contractor, I could put more money in the bank account. Because at the end of the day, the Guyanese people are suffering on all fronts. And so what exactly is their approach to governance?
Yeah. Hiram Skiram, Harry stuff. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We didn't talk about crime, what's happening with crime in our country. We didn't talk about some of the other sectors and how, they have fallen down in the last 3 years. We're just talking about what's happening on the roadways. And in fact, well, I guess better late than never, They might be now waking up. I guess better late than never.
Well, let's see if it's just a statement or they actually act on it.
Yeah, but I think in another week we gone back to square one until another 5 or 8 die in some smash up. Until a minibus turned over somewhere and claim a lot of lights, and you hear another fanciful step, and then we gone back at least at the school because it's only one every day. Right? That seems to be the trajectory that we're on.
Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for us at this end, folks. We've taken you guys over the hour mark by a little bit. Rihanna Mingo, it's because of folks like you. We've had a good program this morning. Maria Vera is here too. I was not updated that Vera causing some problems with the Chinese landing, folks. Deborah Leach, Pamela Dover, June Griffith is here too. Horace Calder, Henry Rodney, and all you other folks joining us this morning. Thanks for your presence here. Remember to partner with us. We don't run a watch, unfortunately, and it's your generosity, your love and your support that keeps us going day after day, week after week, month after month. And we dare say year after year. November, we're looking forward to our 3rd anniversary and reflecting on how far we've come. Tabitha, it's been a privilege being here with you as per normal. Please, please, please. I want to see you tomorrow, the day after that, the day after that.
It's a privilege being with you, Sherrod. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for staying with us through the hour and a little bit. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay safe. And as much and reach those goals. Whatever goals you have for yourself for this day or for this week, go through with it, man. It's better for yourselves and your families. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Push your body, as we said. Share the live, smash that emoji button for us. Let us know how you guys are feeling out there as you go. You're coming back to watch the program. Do the same as well. Partner with us. That's fuel in the tank for us to keep going. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us this morning. Stay safe.